Welcome to Rebuilding Careers. I am Bonni Pomush, CEO of Working Wardrobes, and I am so glad that you are here today. Today, I am joined by two powerhouse women that are really exemplary professionals, and I am very much looking forward to learning more about them and with them along with our listeners today. So please join me in welcoming Theresa Miller from 365 Events in San Diego and Justine Rocha from Hensel Phelps. We are the three of us covering three counties today. Teresa reporting here, if you will, from San Diego, and Justine from LA, and I'm here in Orange County. So thanks to the gifts of technology that keep us connected. Justine and Teresa, thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy day to just take pause and be in the moment and in conversation with me and our listeners. We are focusing this podcast on rebuilding careers, and one of Working Wardrobe's major values is empowerment. And I appreciate so much you owning your power and being willing to share it with me and with each other, and of course with the podcast listeners. So before we get into it, I'd love to hear from each of you just an introduction of yourself, a little bit about you, your company, your role. Please, would you mind maybe kicking it off for us, Justine? Who are you?
Yeah, I'm Justine Rocha. So I work for Hensel Phelps. They are a general contractor construction company, and I am a safety engineer for them. So I do all things safety related for the construction workers on site, planning for their safety, the safety plans, training programs, things like that. I am married to my husband, Sal Rocha. We've been together for 10 years and we have 5 children together. So ranging all the way from 4-year-old twins all the way up to teenage boys at 13. So crazy.
That requires its own safety management and engineering.
Yes, it does.
Oh, Justine, so glad you're here, and what a full life you're living.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Teresa, what about you? Tell us a bit about you, please.
Hello, of course. My name is Theresa Miller, and I live in San Diego. I'm originally from New York, and I have 3 kids. I have a 23-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a just turned 16-year-old girl who is a handful. I am the co-founder and CEO of 365 Events San Diego, and we collaborate with the corporations in the community and nonprofits in the community, and we create community engagement events, and we help corporations with their CSR programs. And absolutely love what I do. I've been doing it for a very long time. On our own, it's been about 2 years. So really happy to be here.
Incredible. And this is also like exemplifying, Teresa, how you are able to move within a variety of platforms, a variety of companies, and bring your full self, your strengths and your abilities to that work. Incredible. Well, it's so lovely to have you both here. Thank you so much. I know for me that what inspires me so much about Working Wardrobes is what I already mentioned, empowerment, the ability for us to help empower individuals with resources, with training, with confidence and belief in themselves, giving them to themselves, their belief in themselves. Have you experienced some of the work that Working Wardrobes does in your career? Have you experienced empowerment or people investing in you? And if so, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about that experience, how you have been empowered and inspired through others?
Me first.
Whichever.
There we go. Sorry. Yeah. So, I mean, being a female in the construction industry, like that is empowerment all in itself, and getting that from my coworkers and my peers and my mentors and my bosses, literally all of them. And even the people in the field who are rooting for us to be in construction. I get it from everybody. So when I first got into construction, like my dad works in construction, so he literally is on speed dial, calling him constantly for advice and information of what to do when dealing with situations where I have to go in the field and talk to a construction worker. So yeah, all of that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I feel the same way. I think between, being a woman alone is just very empowering. We are surrounded by family and friends who have empowered me. You know, we started the company because we had a passion for giving back in the community. We had a passion for empowering other women or empowering other organizations to stand up and be seen. One of the things that we've talked about is in San Diego, there's over 10 or 11,000 nonprofit organizations, and you only hear about the really big ones. And we feel that we give a voice to some of the smaller nonprofits. And I think that's very empowering, you know, to them as well, to know that we see them, we hear them, we know the good work that they're doing. So for me, I've had clients that have empowered me. Actually, it's one of my clients that really made me take the leap to start this company. She believed in me so much and said, "What are you doing? Why don't you you can do this better. So do it on your own." And she supported me and my partner as well. And from a woman's perspective, you know, we all hear about, you know, how women treat each other and so on and so forth. And I have a 16-year-old girl who goes through the mean girl stuff. But when you get to our age and our level and you find people who really care about the things that you're doing and want to support you, she made me cry. She literally made me cry when she said, "I want you to do this and I'm going to help you." So I thank her for everything that I have right now. So now I just try to pay it forward with everything I do for other women as well.
Oh, that is incredible. I mean, it's like you never know really the ripple effects, right? Like when that invitation that
Yep.
she gave you, right? To become and share, become more of yourself, step into it, to share more of yourself in your work, and then the ripple effects of what you are doing in this role, where you are literally helping companies also
Yep.
exponentially
Yep.
contribute to the world. This is incredible. Is Justine, I'm curious too, to kind of go back a little bit. Did you have people or processes or places that really invested in you and made sure that like you got the skills to do your job in a way that is still with you, like that still empowers you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, quick background story on me that I didn't mention in my introduction. So, right out of high school, 2 months after graduation, I joined the military. So, I was in the Army. So, when I came home, I did not have the skill set to just jump right into my position. I got hired through being an intern with Hensel Phelps, and because I was a veteran through their VNet program, and they have paved the way for all of my training. So they train me in-house. I mean, I'm constantly going to training. I'm in school right now, so I'm still going to school to get my bachelor's degree in safety. And they help set aside time for me to do that, especially with my crazy lifestyle with 5 kids at home. So yeah, they have Hensel Phelps and the people I work for, my bosses, like every project I go to, because we move from project to project, they're like, "Oh, you're still in school. Yep, you're still doing that. Okay, this is the time that you can allot yourself to do that work."
Oh, I love to hear this. That company wide, there is a system and an approach that supports not just professional development, but this balance of you as a person need to be
Yeah.
developed, not just to serve the company, but you're going to take that with you, right? Your
Yeah.
bachelor's is connected to you forever.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you could, I don't know how to put it in words, but I will definitely always hold true to Hensel Phelps and be with Hensel Phelps, because I mean, how many companies out there are like invested in your education and making sure that you're taking time to do your education that you want to do for your career? Like that's unheard of almost. So
Yeah. It's interesting too when I think about the landscape we're working in, and we, have been through this great resignation and great reshuffle and all of this, that there is so much more to the compensation package than just salary and benefits, right? This benefit that you're talking about is an
yeah,
investment that it's compounding much more than interest.
exactly. Yeah.
Incredible. It's interesting to me too that both Teresa, for you, and Justine, that this is indicative to me of the power of one person, Teresa, that you described, to really create a difference. And Justine, you're actually the one that's owning that power, although the company and the system is supporting it. But the power of one person to be able to instigate change and create a sustainable trajectory that is a different future than it might have been otherwise. It's the same principle, really, that Working Wardrobes was founded on, right? The power of one person to make a difference in the life of another, and then knowing those ripple effects that they're really immeasurable, right? I say often, we're just changing the world. We're just doing it one person at a time. That's what we're doing.
Right. One person at a time. And sometimes you don't even know the people that you touch. Sometimes you don't know for a long time, or sometimes you never know. So, I've had people come up to me. We've done events, corporate engagement events on the military bases, and I've met families. We've taken pictures, and then a year later, I'll get an email or a text from the family saying, "I just want you to know that your presence there, your motivation, your positive energy completely changed our family's lives. And those gifts that you gave us at Christmas, and the positive talk that you gave to our kids, and now we want to pass it on, and we want to start our own program here." So when you hear things like that, it is empowering, and it makes you want to continue to do good for others, because that ripple effect, it just keeps happening. So.
Yeah.
You also want to keep doing just literally piggybacking off of what you just said, Teresa, and sometimes you don't even know what you're doing is truly affecting them. I don't think my bosses go home at night and be like, "Oh, I'm making a difference," and Justine's like I don't even think they even pay attention to what I'm doing. But I literally could not go to school, be a mom for 5 kids and a wife without this company. I would not be able to do that anywhere else. So they probably don't even realize it as often as I say thank you to them, but at the back of their mind, it's not in their forefront of their mind. So
you also have to give yourself a lot of credit for being, yes, you have that support system, but you're a go-getter. So you're making it happen. You have 5 kids. You could have just laid back and said, "Okay, I have a great job, great family life," but you are a go-getter, and you're making things happen. So you can't discount your ability, to do that, to step out of yourself and say, "Okay, I'm going to do this," because that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people, especially women.
Yeah,
for sure. And I think this is very much the embodiment of owning your power, which is the choices that Teresa was just pointing out that you make, right? That you choose that I'm going to continuously grow and learn, and I'm going to use those in a variety of ways in my life by making that investment in myself now. The obviously empowerment to become a member of our great nation's military. Justine, thank you very much for your service.
Yeah.
I think too about the, we're talking a little bit about the women in the workforce, and that must have been an incredibly different experience too, to own your power in the military. Do you have any reflections about that?
Yeah. So I was in the Army, and I was a chaplain's assistant. So I provided religious support to soldiers. And that, in itself is, again, everything that you guys do on a daily basis. I also was doing it on the religious side of it in the military. So just keeping that near and dear to my heart, and not forgetting that part of me when I came back home. So hopefully that answered your question.
Well, this is another layer of you.
Yeah.
Again, about how you used that position to be able to empower people, to give them the belief in themselves, the ability to channel that empowerment, and that the opportunity to make a difference, to be inspired to move forward, and through, I'm sure, terrible things that you are able to support people through. I think about, just as you're talking, I can't help but draw these connections with Working Wardrobes, because I see every day that it's not easy to ask for help. It's not easy to say, "I need to see the chaplain." It's not easy to say, I need a hand up, right? And then how incredible it is to be the gift of giving the hand up, right? To give the help that is sought, and to do it in a way that allows, again, the person to be more of themselves and to bring their full self to whatever the situation. I
Yeah.
think it's a privilege and an honor to be a part of people's journey. And we do it in the workforce development space. You're both doing it in, obviously other spaces, and it's incredibly powerful. Again, it's how we'll change the world.
Well, for me on the corporate side, because I work so closely with a lot of corporations, they'll reach out and they'll say, okay, we have 100 employees that want to go out in the community and give something back and want to do a community engagement event. And, we go back and forth on what causes they're interested in supporting, and we choose a cause and we go forward. And I tell people all the time, and this is a great example through the pandemic, people would call and say, well, are you doing virtual events? And I would have to say, no, even though it was a moneymaker, I would say no, because for me, what we do is boots on the ground, the human connection of connecting people and understanding people's stories. So once a corporation signs up and they want to do an event and they go to a school and they do a makeover, they get it when they see the kids and when they see the work that they're doing and the impact that they're having. So giving a check is great, but being able to actually be there and making a difference in that way, they'll say to me, wow, I never knew that. Now I get it, Teresa. Now I get, it's that old Indian saying, I always mess it up, but tell me and I'll forget. Show me and teach me and I'll understand, but show me and I will totally get it, whatever that saying is. But you really have to, I guess the point is when you're seeing it with your own eyes and seeing the impact that you're making on people, that brings me joy every day to be able to make that connection and say, look, this is the good that you did. You came to me, I made it happen, but you made it happen in your own heart and with your own, with your own resources. And so it's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling to be able to see that come to fruition.
Oh, Teresa, it's so incredible too, this piece about human connection, right? And kind of doubling down on that with the pandemic, and the scenarios are beyond robust about the lack of human connection.
Yep.
I would love to hear from each of you. I'm as you were talking about that, I was sort of reflecting on my own pandemic experience, and that you're right, that calling to be with other humans. And I think that over the course of the pandemic, when I think back, like let's say from January of 2020 to now, so significantly, I mean, like we're talking well over 2 years here. I think I have changed a lot over this period of time. And to your point, I probably was not as appreciative of human connection and its role and importance in my life. And specifically, I mean, now at Working Wardrobes, I see this every day, the power of this human connection. I think also as I reflect on my pandemic, like sort of, we do a lot of before and after pictures at Working Wardrobes, because oftentimes we see there's this part that you can't see that changes inside of people. Yep. And we always try to finish that effort, if you will, with an after picture in a success suit, because it is a tool a person can use on, LinkedIn or to network, but it's also really important, of course, in the interview, of course, as a way of representing and sitting in one's own confidence. But it is also this transformation on the outside that is a reflection of the transformation on the inside. And I think all of us have transformed through this pandemic. I know for me, I did a very big shift to health and proactive preventative measures I exercise regularly. I eat totally different than I did. I'm even like on supplements and the chiropractor and all these things. But I think I was able to do that because I don't have children and I don't have a space at home that I share with more than one person. I mean, there's just the two of us. I can only imagine a house of 7 and what that must have been like and how that transformed you. And some people through the pandemic had choices to make. Many, I know of my women friends, sacrificed their career and said, whoever's making more money is the person that's going to keep making that money, and I'm going to work on being a teacher and every provider of needs of my home, which is a valiant job and effort. Some made investments in new businesses, new careers, new endeavors that gave them the flexibility to be able to do more of both instead of letting go of the career. I would love to hear from each of you, like, how did you transform through the experience of this pandemic? What's your before and after picture? What are the choices that you faced? How did you address childcare? I mean, give me your reflection, please. And Justine, I'm dying to hear from you because 5 kids is like, I can't even imagine.
Our whole world completely did a 180 on itself. So pre-COVID, we were a 2-income family. My husband is a special needs assistant teacher for a school district. My 3 boys were in elementary school, the twin girls in daycare. It was the typical, we both go to work and figure out how the heck we're going to pick up drop-offs, doctor's appointments, sports events, everything. Then COVID hit and his school district shut down. Special need programs completely shut down. And it wasn't even until September of 2020 where they were starting to pick up and see, okay, let's try and do this online. And my husband and I had to sit down and just reflect on how we just did it the last couple of months and really just realize that we needed to get back to focusing on our 5 kids. We had 5 kids because we love our kids and kept wanting to have more kids. And so we decided that he is going to stay home. And so now he is the stay-at-home dad. And he has always loved photography. So he has taken up his hobby and picked up photography where he can make his own schedule and work when he wants to and when he can. And now he is the one teaching them the ABCs and how to write their names and how to swim. I just got a video earlier today of the girls swimming without their life jacket for the first time today. Like, he is their teacher now, and I'm going to work every day and he's the stay-at-home dad. And that is how it's going to be until 2 more years from now when we put the girls in kindergarten. And he's still keeping his credentials up, wanting to go back to work when the girls go in kindergarten. But we've just realized that, like, COVID was in an odd way a blessing for us. It had us step back and realize, like, we're parents for a reason, and we had these kids for a reason, and we were blessed with twins for a reason. And so he is just crushing it at home, and I get to escape for a few hours every day, and then come home and deal with all the chaos with him after work. So yeah, COVID definitely just flipped us upside down and completely changed the way we view the world, the way I work, the way our lifestyles is. It definitely was an eye-opener for us.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you really realigned your life to your priorities, that you knew what was important and you took that opportunity to reinvest, to figure out how to invest your assets of each other.
I think a lot of people did that, at the beginning. Like, now in hindsight, I agree with you, Justine, 1000%, is that in so many ways, COVID was a blessing. It really did make everybody pause and say, okay, what is important to us? And I know for me, we've had financial struggles since the pandemic started. Both my husband and I chose an industry that was all about people, and his business shut down for 2.5 years. So I ended up going and taking a job at Trader Joe's, which I love, absolutely love. And that's how I kind of sustained myself and kept my sanity during this whole thing. It was that, again, it goes back to the human connection. What can I do if I'm in a better state of mind? How does that reflect on my family? So as my husband was going through a lot of mental anguish about, oh my God, how am I going to provide for my family, or so on and so forth, I'm like, I got this. I'll go, I'll do it. And at the same time, starting the company 1 week before the pandemic hit was a crusher for my partner and I. And we went, okay, what do we do now? But we just kept forging ahead. So I definitely agree that it gave pause. We definitely spent more time with our kids, which I think was so incredibly, incredibly important. So I agree with you. Annette. I think a lot of people felt that way. And I think, the way, as you said, the way everybody works has changed. The way everybody communicates has changed. All of that has changed. So some ways good, some ways not so good, but.
Let's talk about that. I mean, because that's an important piece too, right? There are these personal sides of things that are kind of permanent changes, or are permanent for as permanent is, right? Like for now until the next big decision. In what ways have you experienced permanent shifts in the workplace? Really curious, Teresa, how you've approached, you have access to a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
Like, what have you seen that's just completely different now with employee retention or benefits or anything?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. So because I'm in the corporate engagement, employee engagement space. So for 2.5 years, everything was shut down. No one was doing anything together with their employees. Nothing. Everybody was home, working from home, so on and so forth. And we would call people and they'd say, no, we're not allowed to. We can't do anything. And what we found was, as the world started to open up again, people wanted to go back to work. They wanted to see their teammates on their teams and their employees and so on and so forth. And they wanted to reconnect on a certain level. So that's when they started reaching out to me again and saying, okay, we're all in our own space here. This is great. We're able to stay home, so on and so forth. But there's nothing connecting us anymore as a team. Not only not connecting us, but we're not doing anything for anybody else. What can we do to get back out there? We want to get our team together. So we want to do some team building and find out the causes that we want to help. So in this space that I'm in, there was definitely a shift for a few years of nothing going on, but now people are becoming so much more passionate about giving back in their communities that it's coming back even stronger because they feel like they're making up for lost time. All those things that they wanted to do. I want to go build a school. I want to go build a house in Mexico. I want to go help a military family renovate their house. All these amazing things that we did were all put on hold. So from a corporate employee standpoint, I'm seeing it coming back stronger right now.
That's huge too, because there's there's this like fragility of life that is understood, and you're inferring it as you're talking about this, but there's this real appreciation for how temporary this experience is.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with everything you just said, Teresa, because I know, like, for Hensel Phelps, when we started coming back to working full time and getting away from the Zoom meetings and everything, it's really about, and like, we're considered corporate America and we're on big projects with like 60 to 70 staff members on one job site. And we just really dialed it back and like wanted to do the whole getting to know you more. Like, we thought we knew our team members. And then we created this program that's called DEIC, and it's diversity, equality. Community is the C. Diversity, equality, inequality, and community. And we just sit once a month and we do reflective dialogues with our teams. We take our groups, we break them out, our staff members, and we break them out into like little groups of 4 to 5. And we just do different reflective dialogues on how we view cultures and the world and each other. And like, we never did this before COVID. Like, we had team building events, we had parties, we had events to get to know each other, after hour cocktails or happy hour, summertime barbecues, things like that. But we really just took it back and was like, who are we? Who do we work with? Like, and really valuing each other and our families and getting to know people more.
Yep. Couldn't agree more with that.
It's I think this there are a couple of schools of thought, about diversity, equity, inclusion. I love this, and community. And I think that there is a bit of a lack of understanding that it's really important, and we're back to human connection, to just really understand from what lens are you experiencing the world, and that it's not demographic diversity, it is diversity of human experience, and that each of us, has a broad range of experiences that have shaped how we are and how we interact and how we value and prioritize and just see things. So huge kudos for a great permanent change and outcome of COVID to be in that human connection space. I'm delighted to hear that.
Yes.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and I invite you to just take pause and reflection on your own before and after picture, your own transformation before and after this pandemic, or maybe not even after, just right now. It is an absolute delight to be in conversation with both of you, both very empowered women business leaders. And thank you again so much for taking the time out of your very busy day to make it a priority to share of yourself with others, not knowing what the ripple effects will be, but knowing that this may empower other people. So thank you again for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
It seems like the theme that has emerged of our conversation so far has really been about human connection. And this is very paramount in the work we do at Working Wardrobes, which is individualized employment plans. We literally call ourselves bridge builders. We build bridges between where a person is today and where they are headed. And oftentimes that bridge is over barriers. There are so many countless barriers that can get in the way of a person's empowerment. And of course, we focus on the workplace, right? Being able to get the abilities, the training, the skills, the ability to market oneself and represent oneself well in that industry. Each of you does it in your industry. And I'm so grateful that the common thread here is about taking care of people and bringing more of themselves. We were talking a little bit about the permanent changes that have emerged from COVID, and I'm curious, how would you describe employee morale as you are seeing it in your experiences right now? Are people feeling confident? Are they feeling more connected? Are they addressing more health issues? Just kind of give me a sense of what you're noticing about employee morale and what's happening in the workplace.
I personally think it's gotten better. I mean, going back to the human interaction, the connections, like everybody was just starting to get so burnt out on the every other day work schedules, all Zoom meetings, all emails, all phone calls. Like at one point, I think pre-COVID, we all thought, oh, that would be the dream to work from home and just do emails and phone calls. And then we were forced to do it for like 2 years, a year and a half for us. And it was like, we got more burnt out on that than we did on like multiple daily meetings in groups and in conference rooms. Like people were begging to have those conference room meetings, even if it was 3-4 in a day. They were like, bring them back. We need human interaction. So I think like the morale on personally me seeing it is just so much, it's better. And then again, the other programs we've talked about, getting more involved, getting the human interaction, getting to know people more, like it really just has helped immensely, I think, on my end anyways.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I think employee morale, I think now that the world has opened back up, again, I hate to repeat myself, but people really want to be together again. You know, they want to do things together. I mean, that's how we're built. That's how we're built as humans. You know, we're supposed to be together. We're supposed to feel those connections, you know, whether it's physically or emotionally. And you can't really have that emotional connection if you're not really together. I guess you can to a certain extent, but you know, that emotional connection of doing something that benefits others. I've just seen it from my space, that employee morale, now that people are getting back out into the workforce, getting back into their offices. There's just this lighter, almost like a breath of fresh air or an exhale, where they get back and they say, wow, this is what I missed. This is what it's all about. And they're happier. So when they're in that space, they want to move forward and do more for other people as well. So that's what I've definitely seen.
I'm loving to hear that, because I've been experiencing that myself, thinking that there's this appreciation, like we're not taking it for granted right now. And I'm always prayerful that will stay, that you know, the mindfulness and the ability to walk through the world without just, you know, not really being there, not really fully being present with it. And I think that there's again magic and connection and being able to, as each of you has shared, in different arenas, the ability to come together as people around making some contribution together. Incredible. Are there things that you, and I'm kind of on the opposite side, right? Are there things that you have seen stop happening, or was there like a mass exodus of a certain group of people, or have you seen things that are not necessarily staying with us, but have now permanently left?
I don't know. I don't really know how to answer. I mean, we talk about how we're in like another great resignation, I think they call it, or like resigning, and people leaving and going to do what they love. So I guess that would be the answer to that. But I mean, in my world, in our construction world, I think going back, it's just we feel more empowered now to go back to use that word, to be back on the job site. Like you lose that focus when you have to work from home and just sit and like me sit in a bathroom. Like you don't think you're accomplishing anything when you stick yourself in a walk-in closet and you're trying to make sure that the kids don't make any noises behind you. Like you forget what you are accomplishing day by day. And so you almost go back to that empowerment. So I don't know if that answered your question correctly, but I mean, in my world, I guess I'm not seeing the stop or the, other than really just like appreciating things and not doing so much busy work, and really just making your work count. Not having just so many meetings just to have the meetings, and making the meetings count, because we value each other's time more, I think now. So I don't know if that answers your question. I think I got there.
Well, I think for this generation, because I look at my son who just graduated college. I think they look at the world a little bit differently than we do. There's so many more remote jobs out there now that they're not meeting as many people. Their interviews are on Zoom. Their meetings are on Zoom. Getting a job with looking someone in the eye and shaking their hand, and it's so very different for this generation because of the pandemic. So I've definitely seen a little bit of that hesitant shift, even in my own son, about I got to get back out there. Am I going to be able to communicate? Am I okay socially? Am I okay with my skill set? So I've definitely seen a little bit of that with the younger generation. Plus, I just don't know how, when I was growing up and people were working for large corporations, they stayed for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, whatever it is. I feel like the younger generation moves around a lot more. And then with COVID and the pandemic hitting, there's more opportunity for them to say, well, I don't want that remote job. I want this remote job. And, but I definitely have seen that a lot of these 20 somethings who are getting remote jobs, I'm watching their Instagrams and who's working from Hawaii and who's working from Europe and so I guess there's some good that's come out of it, but I've definitely seen that shift, especially in my own son, of a little bit of that hesitancy about getting back out with that human connection, if we bring that all back into it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many more possibilities now in the workforce. The spectrum of work is much broader than it was when any of the three of us were entering the workforce.
Yep.
I think what you're talking about is at Working Wardrobes, what we call our soft skills training, and it's really about the communication, adaptability, the skills that maybe, you're not going to get a certification in it, but right. It is certainly hot important to have with an employer, right? Your ability to communicate a message, to influence people, to work in a multi-generational workforce, right? You were kind of describing that, Teresa, that I'm different than my son, and we could certainly be working together and needing to understand. Again, this goes back to the DEIC, which, that piece of understanding each other's perspective and from, what angle do we see things and experience them. As I made that connection with the soft skills training and Working Wardrobes doing these, pieces, I'm curious, what are again, in your respective industries, are there trainings or pieces that you would really appreciate candidates for jobs having? And is that any different than it was in the past?
I know for construction, like the soft skills trainings goes so far. And we preach that even with our mentorships when we go to the colleges and the high schools. I just did a career fair with the middle school that we're remodeling here at Belvedere Middle School. And that is what I talked about through the whole thing is if you want to get in construction and you want to start preparing for your career today as a 7th, 8th grader, the soft skills goes so far. Because you're boots on the ground, you're talking to people, you're working with construction workers that are all ages, construction workers who've been doing it for 30 plus years, the brand new ones who've just been in for a couple of years, the office engineers. Like the soft skills trainings are, to me, the most important.
Yes, we've got it.
Yes.
Things you're doing all the right things. I love it. I love it. For me, it's funny. I just had a phone conversation with a 25-year-old who had graduated college and loves community service and wanted to get back into it. So we had probably a 45-minute conversation yesterday, and I'm really all about giving anyone and everyone an opportunity to show their true colors, especially in the industry that I'm in. But I always tell them that you have to have that compassion skill or that compassion emotion to be able to work in the industry that I am in. We do a lot of on-the-job training. So, we have interns as well. And, at the beginning, sometimes they'll be like, I don't really want to do this type of work, so on and so forth. And I'd be like, just wait for the reward and the payment to come. And then when they come and they do these large 300 person volunteer events, and they see the transformation of something, of a facility or of people, of children, of adults, of military families, then they develop those skills and say, wow, I really understood what you were trying to teach me. So even if they don't have the skills from the beginning, I love to give these younger people the experience to say, I'm going to help you build these skills so that you can use me as a stepping stone and go do this on your own for the next part of your life. So definitely the compassion, and definitely the on the job training for what we do. You definitely have to be a good communicator. That always comes in handy. But some people just don't have that skill. They have other skill sets. So.
But it's so helpful because, our mission is to help prepare people to fill roles in companies like each of yours, and how, again, empowering, right? Empowering to know that human connection is what is the through line in all of this, and our ability to ramp up those soft skills is definitely helping our clients become better candidates for jobs at employers like yours. And also giving me really hope and faith in the world we live in, that, again, this ability to appreciate our ability now to connect again. And I hope so desperately that we continue to embody that appreciation in our every action and opportunity to not only help contribute positively to the world we create, but also to continue empowering each other and others, and inviting and accepting the invitation to
Absolutely. Connect. Yes, it's the believing. I think the belief part, the believing in each other. I've had people who, young kids who've worked with me out of college, and I always say to them, I trust you with this. I want to trust you. You have to empower someone. If you don't know plan A, then come up with a plan B, or if plan A doesn't work, come up with plan B and plan C. But I think that trust and that belief in someone, I've had so many interns say to me, wow, I've never had a work experience like that, because usually they're like, okay, you're going to do this step, this step, this step, and this step. And for me, I'm like, I don't know. I said, I'll teach you your basics, but you need to learn to problem solve and come to me after the problem is solved. And when you give people that power, and that you put that trust in them, you will be amazed at how much comes back to you. And they say, wow, I never knew I could actually do that. and they thank you. And, you know, there's just some people don't give everybody an opportunity like that. And there are others who you really just have to have faith in people and believe in people, and to know that they'll come through for you as long as you give them that opportunity.
Teresa, I couldn't ask for a better wrap of our conversation, because I think that you brought us full circle, which is we each experienced someone investing in us and believing in us, and we used that invitation wisely to help not only further our own careers, but our ability to make a positive impact in the world. Ladies, it has been an absolute delight to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much for joining me on this Rebuilding Careers podcast. It is absolutely a treasure of the week for me now, that I will continue to reflect on how I can accept those invitations to be empowered and also continue empowering others, and all of it through human connection. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being supporters of Working Wardrobes. We are here to keep building these bridges between where we are and where we're headed, and to do it in partnership with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.